Energy, and I am here with our guest Mark Hoagland of Stanley Steamer this morning. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Looking forward to a little cooler weather this weekend. I know it's going to rain quite a bit tomorrow, I see, but that's how it is.
I'm telling you, we need some cooler weather around here.
Yes, definitely. Um, with all this rain here, um, you are you're very well knowledgeable in the mold, the allergies, all that stuff. I'm sure you're picking up a lot of business right now.
Yeah, you want to talk about mold. I mean, mold has become more and more prevalent the last few years. Starting out 3 years ago, we were doing a few mold jobs a year. Now it's like every other day I'm getting 4 phone calls with mold issues in the home, and it's affecting the inside environment for these people, and
Hmm.
obviously they're concerned. Um, it's amazing how bad it's become over the last few years.
Do you think there's a reason behind that?
Yeah, first off, you go back to Aaron Brockovich. Everybody remembers Aaron Brockovich story uh, with the movie that they made with, and she actually ended up purchasing a home that was mold infested, and they called it black mold. So, unfortunately, because that made such large media, everybody sees black mold or what looks to be black mold in their home. Um, Immediately, I think it's the worst mold in the world. Color is really irrelevant. You don't know what type of species of mold it is until you have it tested
Hmm,
by either an environmental hygienist or certified mold inspection testing company that will come out and do the sampling for you. So color, I want to get this clear because I can't tell you how many calls I get. I got black mold. Yeah, color is really irrelevant. It could be the color of the rainbow. So the biggest thing is to get it tested and see if you actually have a problem inside your environment.
gotcha. And Stanley Seamer, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys just do the restoration, or do you do the testing as well?
We do not do the testing. The biggest problem with a company that does their own testing and their own remediation, it's a conflict of interest. I can go in any home, I can find a mold colony. Most homes have some levels of mold. Um, it, it, the problem becomes when the colony is growing at such a rate where it's producing spores inside your environment that are higher than the outside. So
Hmm.
you understand your outside environment's always seeking equilibrium with your inside of your home. So every day we breathe mold spores outside. It's part of our everyday lives. That's why so many people have allergies. Um, we eat it. We eat mold. The problem becomes if a person's specifically allergic to that species. Now, understand there's hundreds of species out there, but the three most common in our area are Penicillium, Aspergillus, and Stachybotrys. Stachybotrys is what is referred to as black mold, even though it can be the full range of a color spectrum.
Okay. You say the penicillium, right? Is that like what medicine is? Is that the same thing?
That's where they originally derived penicillin from.
Gotcha.
Not they don't get it from that anymore, obviously, because of technology and the advancements in the healthcare system. But yeah, that's where the original penicillin came from.
Wow. Because I'm allergic to the medication penicillin, and I'll just break out in rashes and stuff like that. So,
So if you have penicillium in your home, you're probably going to be allergic to it.
gotcha. That's very interesting. Um, and I guess it's becoming more and more relevant that you're seeing and hearing. Obviously, you're getting four. You started with like 4 calls a day, and now you're getting more and more and more. Is it because the homeowners or tenants or owners of buildings just aren't educated in it?
Yeah, most people don't understand mold, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. We are actually an IICRC certified organization when it comes to mold remediation. Actually, we're IICRC certified firm for mold, fire, water damage, all that. But uh, since we're talking specifically about mold, um, people Google. I mean, we're a Google society right now,
Hmm.
and you Google mold. I've seen a remediation company put a video out that ozoned a mold infested home, and the guy ended up licking the wall to prove that it was safe, even though there was still mold on the wall.
Man,
I couldn't believe he did that, but I mean, uh, the only way to get rid of mold is actually to remove it, to remediate it. Um, if it's on drywall, porous material like that, we're tearing it out. And most people think, well, I just do that myself. Well, the biggest problem when people start attacking mold and start trying to remove it themselves, mold's a living organism. Just like any organism, any species, they want to survive.
hmm
Its only survival mechanism is spread all its spores so it can survive at a later time when the conditions present themselves where you have a wet environment, preferably dark, they'll start growing again. So our biggest fear when we're doing remediation jobs is cross contamination. Um, when we do a remediation job, we're containing that environment. We're creating negative air inside that environment to trap all the spores right there, so they're not spreading throughout the rest of your home.
gotcha. Very interesting. Um, Good friend and client of mine, Scott Maurer, Maurer Environmental.
Yep.
He does the testing, correct?
He does our testing. He does all our testing. He's a
Okay.
great guy. Yeah.
And he was just in yesterday, and I was talking to him about what's going down in Louisiana, and I was like, so Scott, are they gonna like just level all those homes, or what's gonna happen? He was like, they're probably just gonna gut them, fix the foundations, and just try and get the mold out as best they can, and rebuild up the drywall and all that stuff.
Yeah, they'll probably do a big tear out there. They might demo some of those homes. Depends
hmm
how bad the foundation got affected. I can tell you, the tornado in Washington, I know this is not flooding, but a lot of that, because it happened in the wintertime and, the devastation out there, a lot of those homes had to get totally demolished because the foundations were ruined because of it being the winter, it trapping moisture into the concrete. It freezing and separating. We've done several demos out there when that first occurred, and we did everything we could to protect the foundation, but without a conditioned environment, the foundations got ruined.
Man, yeah, that's terrible, terrible. Uh, back or Backtrack this year in January, there was a big ice storm that came through.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys had a lot of business through that.
I didn't sleep for 3 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
3 weeks of nonstop water damage drying out. We had truckloads of drying equipment brought in, and not just us. I mean, our competitors did the same thing. Brought in a bunch of drying equipment to try to service everybody. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to everybody that was devastated by that. I
hmm
mean, when you have a mass, what we call a CAT event, a catastrophe event, you just do your best and you work as long as and hard as you can, and you just move on to the next day. So some people weren't getting service for like 2 weeks. And unfortunately, when water sits that long,
hmm
it goes from a category 1 to a category 2 to a category 3 water level event. Once you get to category 3, pretty much any affected materials are getting torn out, and realistically, you could start having microbial growth. Just because you have water in your basement or you have a flood doesn't mean you're going to get mold. I just want to make that absolutely clear. Um, Mold has to be present. Mold spores has to be present for it to grow.
hmm
If there's no mold spores present or there's not a significant amount, you're not going to have a mold issue. Um, Going back to the question where I think all this work's coming from, honestly, I think it's coming from a lot of people that had those events, had a water event, water loss in their home. They tried to dry it out themselves by using a shop vac, and they left the carpet pad in there, and then they thought they were doing a great job, throw a fan and a small little DU in there, and it just wouldn't dry fast enough. So if you don't dry fast enough, time is of the essence when you're drying out a basement. So
So, kind of what I get out of that is I understand that budget and stuff like that is an issue for mostly everybody out there. But if you are having a problem in your basement or in your home that you just want to go maybe the cheaper route and just dry it out yourself with fans and vacuum, probably not the best route to go.
no, because most people don't understand the psychometry behind drying and making sure that it dries out
hmm
properly. Um, yeah, that's not the route to go. When you have an event, first you're going to call your insurance to make sure you have coverage. And most people did have coverage. We ran across a few that didn't. We do our best to take care of those and try to keep it within budget to at least where they're at a point where it's not going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, people let it sit. And if you let it sit or you don't do it, it's going to cost you more in the long run. So you might as well pay to have it done right the first time. Because if you don't, you're facing these potential issues of more stuff having to be removed, more drywall, more, whatever it may be, whatever got affected will have to be torn out the longer it sits.
Gotcha. Talking about like some preventative measures for you. So you got like, for example, Scott doing the testing, you doing the cleanup and all that stuff. What about after the cleanup? What do people do if they're in a lower floodplain? And I mean, how do they prevent that? Is it the foundation?
Well, that's a good question. If they're in a floodplain, no, I would suggest getting out of a floodplain first and foremost. Okay, but yeah, a lot of the issues, that I'm seeing too, are foundation issues or grade issues. Most people don't think to check their grade because let's face it, especially in the new homes, you're going to have a lot of settling, a lot of dirt settling, and if the dirt is evenly flat or maybe even tapered towards the house, that's bad because that means all that water is running towards the house, and water will find a way. I mean, if it takes the least path of resistance, and it will find a way to get in there.
Oh yeah.
Then you got the older foundations. Well, over time, you get settling cracks. You get the drain tiles on the outside of the house may get crushed, or over a period of time, and you get all that water starting to build up in the footings of the foundation coming up, and then you get hydrostatic pressure, which pushes the water through the foundation wall into your home. That's bad. That's when you need to call a Mid-America Basements, have them come in, put in some basement dewatering. That's a cheap route. The expensive route is to dig out all the way around your house next to your foundation and put a new drain tile. Most people don't opt for that because it's kind of, it is really expensive. But yeah, I mean, there's different preventative measures you could do, basement dewatering. And the biggest thing is keeping the environment conditioned. So if it's your basement, throw a dehumidifier down there.
Yeah.
Put a self-discharging dehumidifier down there. Keep it under 60% relative humidity, and you're going to control the ability for the mold to grow. Now, I can't say you're going to prevent it 100%, but you're doing everything you possibly can to keep it from growing, becoming an issue.
Yep. I know that's what I do in our home is we got a dehumidifier like the first day we even got in there just to be sure that to keep some of that moisture out. But you also want to have some type of moisture in your home, right?
Yeah, if you're like my dad, okay, I'll use this as a story. He worked for me when we first bought the business in '05. He has some health issues now, so he's not working. But he loved keeping a dry environment. So he would take one of our commercial dehumidifiers home and run it constantly. Okay, I'd go over to his house and sit down in one of those chairs, and then I'd go to get up, and my finger would touch the metal, and I'd get zapped. You have a if you have too dry of an environment, it's not good for you. Okay, it's not good for the static electricity because I hate getting shocked. Number one, number two, it'll dry you out. So there's no, we don't live in Phoenix for a reason, so you don't have to worry about getting dried out there. But yeah, keep your house, I like 40-50% relative humidity in the home. People have humidifiers on, built into their HVAC system. Great idea, as long as they keep it under control.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the humidifier and the dehumidifier, how does that work? I mean, should there be a level for the humidifier and a level for the dehumidifier? I mean,
yeah, well, the dehumidifier I recommend in the basement, to maintain no greater than 60%. So they make units now that will, you can set it at say 55. So when the relative humidity gets up to 55%, it'll kick on. Now the humidifier, which is the complete opposite of what a dehumidifier does, is good for like your wintertime. So most people turn it on in the wintertime because let's face it, in the wintertime it's super dry out.
Yeah.
Right now you step outside, and like me, I'm a big guy. I go outside. I like to say I condensate. I don't sweat. I condensate. Yeah. So we don't need a humidifier in our summertime weather, even
Okay.
springtime. I love springtime here.
Yeah. Um, you, back to your cat events you're talking about. What is one of the worst ones in the area that you could touch on? And you might have already talked about it. It could have been the Washington tornado one.
Well, that was a different cat event. If you're talking about the cat event that happened in January, let's just say there's jobs that we run across that involve sewage,
Hmm.
and I've seen, yeah, there's some pretty bad stuff. Yeah, it, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah,
So let's just avoid that
I
one right there.
I know. In the networking groups I'm in with Scott, he's shown some presentations of what he's done and experienced and tested. And just yesterday, I mean, someone was like, "What are those on the carpet?" And it was like mushrooms, and it's just like, whoa, like that really can get inside your homes, and people don't realize how fast it can actually happen. And back to the January stories, people got down in Florida, and their basement got mold in it, and it was probably 4 feet up the walls in the basement. And I asked him, I was like, "How long does that actually take?" And he was like, "Well, if there's no one there, about 30 days." And so it was just like, wow, how does that happen so fast?
It happens really fast. Actually, fungi, they're like your penicillium and your aspergillus that we were talking about earlier, which are the two most common ones that we find in our area. They could start to germinate within 24 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So now they start to develop their colony, so you got an active colony growing. Now, if someone's gone for 30 days, just imagine the food source that thing has, with the basement being so wet, with the drywall providing a nice substance to thrive on
Hmm.
in the right conditions. Now, the Stachybotrys that we're talking about, the Aaron Brockovich thing, the black mold, which really color doesn't matter, that takes up to 7 days to germinate. That produces, understand, molds produce what we call myotoxins. So that's what usually people react to or are allergic to is the myotoxins. Stachybotrys has, um, a greater level of myotoxins than like penicillium and aspergillus. Um, it's just, I don't want to get too technical, I
Yeah,
guess, but
for sure.
um, that's where it's at with that.
Gotcha. Now, we've talked a lot about how the mold develops, what you do, um, just some stories here and there, but how does living in a home with stuff like that kind of reflect someone's health?
Okay, first I want to put the disclaimer out. I am not a doctor.
Right.
I do not have a doctorate in anything.
Hmm.
um, but being in this industry, I understand that people, like I said earlier, you have to be specifically allergic to that type of species of mold for it to affect you. Um, uh, Now, long-term exposure to molds, you could start developing allergies to that specific species. So it could affect you from, to your respiratory. Um, I've seen it affect the nervous system, or I've heard of people, their nervous system getting affected by it
Hmm.
because there's myotoxins in there. The ones that are most success, you understand what I'm trying to
Oh
say,
yeah.
susceptible. Thank you. Sorry. It's morning. I need a drink of coffee. Are the elderly,
Yeah.
anybody that's immunocompromised, that has respiratory issues, and then obviously the young, and any children, those are the things that I'm more concerned about when I'm doing a remediation estimate and I'm looking, and if I see something, pretty bad, I'd tell the client, like, look, um, I would suggest seeing a doctor, but I'm not a doctor. This is what I'm recommending to you. I don't think you should be living here. But again, I can't tell you that because I'm not
Right.
a physician.
For sure.
So
Definitely. Maybe in your field of expertise.
yeah, I've seen some doozies in my day.
um, tell us a little bit about Stanley Steamer. How many? What area do you cover? How many locations?
We have multiple locations. We service all the way to Bloomington and beyond there, all the way down to Mason City, Galesburg, Monmouth. We actually go to Monmouth,
Hmm.
and then we service all the way out to see west. Well, west would be Monmouth or Fulton County.
Okay. Macomb area.
Yeah,
McDonough.
we do it all. We got a very large service territory. Uh, we have multiple trucks. I only have two mold remediation crews that specialize in that. So you're not getting a carpet cleaner that comes in and does the mold remediation. You're getting certified technicians.
Right. So it sounds like you're from anywhere, basically like from Peoria east to west and south a little bit.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Um, and like we talked about kind of opening up, the mold has been very, very prevalent today. What do you see and recommend within the next 2 to 4 to 6 weeks for people with fall coming? The season's going to be changing a little bit.
It's time to get those carpets clean. I mean, kids are back in school. Thank God. All right. Sorry, I'm just speaking for myself.
Got to learn.
It's time for them to go back to school. So now's a good time to get your carpets cleaned because all the dust and the debris throughout the summer, all the in and out and all the spills. Let's get those carpets cleaned. Call 1-800-STEAMER. They'll get my local office, or if you call after hours, you'll get my 24-hour call center, and they can schedule a job for you. We're Asthma and Allergy Foundation certified when it comes to carpet cleaning. People don't realize how much pollen and just everything that gets tracked into the home. I mean, our cleaning has been proven to remove 94% of your dust, your pollens, and we're asthma and allergy certified.
Awesome. That's awesome. Then a little bit about yourself. Just recently, for everyone out there, I really haven't talked to. This is our first real conversation, actually.
It is.
I believe
it is.
I think it's pretty good.
No, it's terrible.
I know we have been in the same Front Nine Foundation golf outings a couple times. So, how was your golf game throughout the last months?
Wow, you had to bring that up. Oh my goodness. I work for a living. My name's not Doug Pinner. Okay. I don't do daily energy. My name's not Doug Pinner. I'm not a golfer. It was terrible. Honestly, Doug carried me. And it was a great outing. Bottom line, Front Nine, as much as we joke, Front Nine Foundation is a great organization. The money goes to the children's home.
Yeah, Children's Hospital of Illinois.
Children's Hospital of Illinois. And then there's that
Family House,
which is, oh my goodness. And then when Doug brings in the families that I was in it last year, so the family from last year that was helped, the husband came back. Yeah, it was great seeing him, and thank goodness his daughter is doing very well. So yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, Jeff Nelson actually was on my team with me, and he's a teacher down. Oh, I can't recall the name of the city, but it's a little south here in Illinois. And great guy. Said, seemed to be doing very well. And the Front Nine Foundation said you can't really talk much better about it.
Yeah, I'm big into charities and organizations. I can't tell you how many. I'm probably involved in too many, and I thought I was a big supporter of these things.
Yeah.
And then I met Doug.
Okay.
A few years ago, 4 years ago, and I thought I was doing a lot of stuff for charitable organizations. This guy is just insane when it comes to charitable organizations.
Yeah, he does a lot. He's a good man.
Yeah, I love him, but he golfs too much.
Hey, if I had his golf game, I'd be doing the same thing.
I think I'd be out hitting the circuit too. He's doing really well. He actually texted me yesterday and said he broke the executive course record yesterday.
Really?
So he's pretty pumped. I'm pumped for him. As much as I like to bust on him, he's such a good guy. And we just have that relationship. The first interview we didn't even prep. It was just we just riffed it, and it was fun.
Oh yeah, that's how it should be. That's how life should be, and just work, everything.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that I really didn't touch on for the Stanley Steamer and everything else that you kind of had in mind? I know you said the mold and allergies. Was there another topic out there?
I just want people to know, we're here to help. Even if it's not us, if you have water in your basement, call somebody. I'll just give you the names of my competitors: Menals, Service Master. If you have water in your basement, Serve Pro. Give them a call.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a call. Get your basement dried out properly. Insurance, no insurance. Time is of the essence. Call somebody, get them in there, get it dried out so you don't have these issues down the road. Um, if you don't take care of it properly now, it's going to cost you. You think it's expensive now, it's going to cost you more when you do the mold remediation. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, most people think, well, Stanley Steamer has this $99 special. Yes, we do. You get 2 rooms cleaned for $99. We don't have a $99 special for mold. There's no such thing. And most people usually balk at the initial estimate on mold remediation. They can't believe how expensive it is. Well, let me tell you, as a business owner, and I'm sure my other fellow mold remediation company business owners could tell you, the work comp rate when you do mold remediation work is absolutely ridiculous. Um, it's 8 times higher than what it cost me for my carpet cleaners. And that's where the expense is. The
Mm-hmm.
expense is in the labor. Unfortunately, mold remediation is labor intensive. It's expensive, but you need to get it done.
Right. Exactly. Um, Backtrack. You said you started you and your father, right? 2005 Stanley Steamer.
Yeah, we bought it in 2005 from the previous owner. Well, from corporate, who I think Scott Huffman was the original owner.
Okay. You're actually kind of getting to where I was going to ask you. Like, so how'd you get into Stanley Steamer?
I worked for the previous owner, Scott Huffman. That's where I started when I was going to Bradley back in 90, 94, 95.
Okay.
And then 96, I went to work for the corporation up in Chicago. They're an Ohio company, but I worked at one of their branch locations. And then I just worked up the ranks through there from a carpet cleaning technician all the way up to a general manager, running multiple locations. And then in 2005, this opportunity came available, and I got to buy the market that I got to start in.
Wow. That's awesome. I didn't realize it's similar to like a Anytime Fitness
Yep.
where corporate and then franchisees can own their own
Mm-hmm.
locations throughout wherever they're at. So that's pretty cool. Um, so in terms of the education process, you went to Bradley. I don't think they have a degree in.
Carpet cleaning.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say I'm not that smart. I didn't finish Bradley. I was actually going to Bradley for nursing, believe it or not, and that was back. Now you look. I guess I'm okay right now, but you look back. They were given at the time in '94. A lot of RN jobs were going away, and CRNs were taking over. Uh, uh, and or CNAs, whatever it was, and the money wasn't there. And
hmm
then shortly, about 3 years later, there's a big shortage of RNs, and they're giving them all kinds of money, all kinds of bonuses, and I was kicking myself. So
So did you have to take any type of course for the, like, let's say, knowing what mold is in homes and allergies and stuff like that?
yeah, that's where the IICRC certifications come in. Unfortunately, there's no laws in the state of Illinois at this time that someone has to be certified or has to know what they're doing.
hmm
I've seen other people recommend individuals who, let's just say, don't know what they're doing and do it the wrong way. There's no magical cure. There's no magical spray.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Well, with that, everybody, Mark Hoagland of Stanley Steamer, he is your go-to guy for just cleaning up the house of mold, water, any sort of allergies and damages that you may have. So, Mark, thank you for coming in today, and I know you have a busy day ahead of you.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. You're a lot better than Doug, by the way.